Gerald Celente, I want to get into your incredible new cover on the new Trends Journal that blew me away, the fine art level of it, of the Temple of the Bankers, and how this is a global cult to them. They even say that. And I want to get into the new trends, what happened in gold, everything with you. But I first got to ask you, expand on that cover. That is just incredible artwork. Maybe like a movie cover to Prometheus or something. The Temple of the Moneylenders. And you know what Christ did to that. So the whole point is, Gerald, you've heard me break this down because we're in the eye of the storm, and they are coming after us now at every single level, Gerald. And it turns out the White House is hanging out with this Saudi who was on the terror watch list. They said before Congress that wasn't true. Then it is. I mean, what do you make, being a consultant, working in government, being the top world trends forecaster for more than 25 years, what do you make of what's happening, and why are they coming after us like this?
Well, I can't associate with you anymore. I mean, this is my last program with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, how could anybody believe these Keystone cops from Boston? This has to be not only an affront to our civil liberties and our rights, but let's get this straight. They closed down over 100 square miles around the Boston area. They stopped the trains from running between New York and Boston. They barely run the way it is because our infrastructure stinks, but I digress. They stopped people from going to school, stopped commerce as they started raping our constitutional rights. Shelter in place, shelter in place. I got a shelter in place for you. Who made this crap up? Going door to door like Gestapo. Let's take that C out of America and put a K in there. Forcing people out of their homes at gunpoint. And the sheeple applauding. People going out with just robes on and no shoes. Women with their hands up could hardly walk down the stairs. And these goons, they all look alike. A bunch of fat guys with a lot of body armor on. Keep them hands up. Keep them hands up. And they couldn't.
Hey, look at this good-looking blonde. She didn't hold her hands up long enough. Let's shove her up against the wall. She probably, and a cop sent me an email saying, well, they all could be with the terrorist. How about you're with the terrorist, cops? How about your suspect?
And the other thing is, you read how many people said they wished they had guns. No, you don't need a gun. You got Boston's finest. Listen, they can't win a World Series, and they couldn't catch a 19-year-old kid. Let's get this straight. They closed down the entire city. Could you imagine conventions going on?
What about chanting USA, USA, USA while they point guns at you and rough people up? This is a total martial law test. And they say, well, it's for your safety. Everybody could be with the terrorist. Cops actually said there could have been more terrorists. Well, how about there could be Easter bunnies or Freddy Krueger hiding under the table? This is the essence of martial law, where we're all guilty until proven innocent. And why has America never acted like this before? You've never locked down a city because of one guy. They needed to get him before he could tell his story to cut his throat out.
Well, look, again, you know that. I mean, I go to your site. You know the news. You write about it. Oh, there was a gun. Remember the gun battle between the kid in the boat and the police? And they find no gun. Oh, there were 3 guns, and we only found 1 gun. Oh, they robbed a 7-Eleven. No, they didn't. And then let's get this straight. They lifted the state of siege. They lifted martial law at 6 p.m.
And then the citizen founding.
The guy goes outside, takes a smoke, sees somebody's in his boat, opens the thing. There's his kid bleeding, lying there. He calls the cops, and they come in with these tank-like vehicles, boom, shooting the hell out of the boat.
By the way, that was that guy's house. I would have had a rifle. I have a bullhorn. I'd say, "Come out of there right now, or I'm gonna, shoot."
I mean, they have enough stormtroopers with enough weaponry to lead the Battle of the Bulge, and they can't get a 19-year-old kid without shooting the boat up.
Hey, look at Katrina. Look at Katrina. The first time they got a chance, they came and took over a city, went and robbed the rich houses, and confiscated the guns. That's their goal. This is a criminal government. Go ahead.
And I love this one. That the gunshot to his throat was probably self-inflicted.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the number of bullets that went into that boat? Oh, yeah. Hey, how about this one? You ever remember that? Oh, no, I think I'll do it in the throat, I tell you. Here it is, Alex. The cover of the Trends Journal that we did in the spring of 2012, 1 year ago. Next train to Auschwitz. All aboard. Kiss those calories goodbye.
That's right.
And that's what the people of the United States have done. They've boarded the train from Auschwitz. It just left from the Boston terminal. Everybody cheering, the Gestapo taking over the country. How wonderful. We've lost all our rights. The founding fathers must be turning in their graves. And this also happened on the day that Paul Revere, the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and our rights are stripped in front of us, and people take their clothes off, bend over, and allow the Gestapo to do it, and they all cheer. It's a disgrace.
And they chant USA, USA while they do it. Now, again, the media only showed that. I had a lot of callers that said this actually finally woke them up and that they witnessed it and they had guns aimed at them. We were sent photos where a family would just be, you know, out on their front porch and the cops would aim guns and say, get back in. Just any excuse to dominate us. It's an occupying army.
Exactly. We've been writing about it. You've been talking about it. It's here in black and white. What was the top trend of 2012 in our Trends Journal? Battlefield USA. They've taken our rights away from us. You just saw the repeal of Obama did on New Year's Eve in 2011 with the signing of the National Defense Authorization Act, which repealed the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 that now permits the military to take over police duties, and you saw it in Boston.
This is America being conquered by the foreign banks that openly brag they've taken us over and are now preparing us for total implosion. Gerald Celente is on fire.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
It is no exaggeration. We did the analysis. I looked at it yesterday. Conservatively, 55 million people extra came through Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and what we can gauge off the radio show. And that's very conservative, counting YouTube and other things. That's very conservative. Because those are individual IP addresses. If you look at all the other stuff, it's unbelievable. It is an event horizon level event, which totally creeps me out because they're mad at me. I mean, they're trying to connect me to the bombing. They're coming out saying I'm a demon on the official White House channel, MSNBC, Media Matters, run by the White House. And I was asking Gerald why he thinks this is happening, and during the break, he said, because there's not many of us resisting. But the good news is if we're getting that type of traffic, it shows people are hungry. And everywhere I go in public, people don't even know who I am, or they're not even listening to me. I hear them talking about it being an inside job, or them letting it happen, or they're liars. They've lost all credibility, but they're still in control. Now they're saying Syria has gotten, nerve gas and used it, so they've got to be attacked. I mean, this is Hitlerian, what we're seeing. This is where America's the bad guys invading people. Hitler said Poland attacked Germany and lied about it. They always have an excuse. So, Gerald, this is a short segment. I want to ask you, what's going to happen as the establishment loses all credibility, but they still are in power and don't care? And why do they want to prepare us for troops on the streets everywhere? There are, no exaggeration, 50-plus military drills occupying cities going on right now where troops aim guns at citizens. This has been going on incrementally. They're building towards something. What is going to happen as they lose all credibility? National polls show 74% of Americans hate the government and don't trust them. It's much higher than that. What are these Ceausescuian scum, these Kim Jong-uns, going to do? Try to bring us into pure North Korea?
Well, they have already. Again, we just sent you the link from our Winter Trends Journal last year, not this one, of Battlefield America. And this is how it began as we wrote it. Martial law in the USA, can it happen? It's happened. America has been decreed a war zone in which military rule can replace civilian rule. Imagine the United States of America, the land of liberty, a nation that intervenes around the world, overthrowing governments in the name of democracy, has robbed its own citizens of the last vestiges of their democracy. On December 1st, 2001, the United States Senate voted 93-7 to pass into law the National Defense Authorization Act, and we go on. You're talking about Syria. This is from that wonderful Trends Journal with the cover that everyone loves so much, with Jesus Christ chasing the money changers out of the temple.
Looks like Chuck Hagel.
This is a year ago, summer 2012. No talk like war talk. By November, would it be the, we go on the war front, Syria was in the crosshairs, and regime change was at the top of a U.S., NATO, Israeli, and Arab League agenda. Syria's Assad must go, Obama says, and one or after another. Syria, chemical weapons. Obama says world is watching. Israel in tough warning over Syria weapons cache. Netanyahu, Hezbollah may get chemical weapons. New Syria rises on specter of chemical weapons, one after another. It's a setup. This is a year ago, and now they're bringing it up again. Here's yesterday's Financial Times. Israel says Syria used nerve gas against the rebels.
Total crap.
And what you're asking me, what they're doing is, I've said this, when the economy began to collapse in late 2007, when all else fails, they take you to war. And you see how people rally round the flag when there's fear and hysteria.
Oh, I bet people would chant USA as they were put in pits and shot in the head. I'm serious. I think people would chant USA as they were put on cattle cars, and if they watched their children fed into wood chippers, they would chant USA and salute the guys doing it. USA, now, USA, USA.
Now, here's the good news as I see it. Look at all the people that are going to your site and mine. By the way, I have a video up on the GERALD CELENTE or the Trends Journal channel on the Boston siege. And we've been getting great responses, wonderful telephone calls. There are very few of us are doing it. And again, it happened, synchronicity, on the day that the American Revolution began, when the Boston atrocity happened. I believe we're on the verge of a new revolution, and that there are a lot of people. It only took 25%.
We'll stay there. We're going to talk about that on the other side.
Hi, Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources. With over 30 years of experience in the precious metals business, I can tell you without a doubt, we are facing the most dangerous and volatile times, not just in the United States, but worldwide. Peace of mind is gold and silver. Now is the time to invest in gold. When it comes to bullion coins, our prices are competitive and the closest to melt. If it's numismatics you're looking for, we have some of the best deals out there. Visit MidasResources.com today or go to Infowars.com and click on the link to see our daily specials. Here's an example of one of our long-term specials we've been offering for more than a year. 2 silver dollars from the turn of the last century, plus 2 powerful films, The Obama Deception and The American Dream. We also add in the book Dishonest Money, all for $72 and free shipping. The most trusted name in precious metals is Midas Resources. Call 1-800-686-2237 or go to Infowars.com. I'm Ted Anderson with Midas Resources.
We are now only entering the edge of a global financial superstorm, the likes of which the planet has never seen. Here in the United States, the private Federal Reserve is giving more than $85 billion of taxpayer money a month to themselves and other offshore foreign banks. And the worst part is, we have to pay the bank's interest on the money we give them. There is now a race between the global central bank mafia cartels to see who can devalue their country's currencies the fastest. We are already seeing big increases in inflation at the grocery store and the gas line. This will eventually lead to hyperinflation. More than a dozen top globalists like George Soros have been buying record amounts of gold while at the same time bad-mouthing it to the public. Don't just listen to what they say. Watch what they do. For more than 6,000 years of recorded human history, gold has been the ultimate hedge against uncertain times and inflation. Before investing in metals, it is important to do your own research and find a reputable company. Midas Resources has the highest Better Business Bureau rating of an A+. Unfortunately, very few precious metal companies can boast that. Midas Resources has assembled one of the most educated, researched, and professional teams of brokers in the industry. The evidence is overwhelming. In uncertain times, gold and silver is safe harbor. Now is the time to invest in gold. Call 800-686-2237 and Midas Resources will mail you 10 reasons to own gold absolutely free. No shipping. It's absolutely free. And finally, Ted Anderson wants to challenge you to find any deal that comes close to his 2 silver dollars at cost with free shipping with 2 free films and a book for $72. That's more than $160 value for $72 shipping included. Click the link at Infowars.com to go to the MidasResources.com specials page. Brought to you by MidasResources.com and Ted Anderson, the trusted name in precious metals. GERALD CELENTE is going to be riding shotgun with us. Along with these people. They love the martial law. They love having guns pointed at them and being a suspect, a slave until proven totally enslaved. It used to be innocent until proven guilty, then it was guilty until proven innocent. Now it's you're always guilty, period, and shut up, scum. This is freedom. And the drone manufacturers, weaponized drones, you know, we're going to target you. I've even had one of the big drone makers doing stuff behind to us behind the scenes, mad that we're even dare criticizing them. Yeah, I should just roll over to Skynet and just do whatever you say. It's a bunch of special interests gutting this country because this country's got a bunch of chumps that have been raised on brainwashing, begging to be slaves. We're going to go back to GERALD CELENTE in a moment. He's such a champ. He never even plugs his own stuff, but everyone should support what he's doing. Trendsresearch.com to get the sign up for the free news alerts, but also sign up to get the magazine, the Trends Journal, and all of it right there at trendsresearch.com or trendsjournal.com. Where is the economy headed? Will there be war? History before it happens. That is their maxim. It is very important you go there and support what he's doing and get it out to other people. Listen, if you support the real media and people that'll tell it like it is, I mean, we're hard charging right up there at the front, then we can build our operations and other operations will also form and we could take back this civilization. The Bilderberg group from our leakers, the people inside, is always angry. They want you poor and impoverished so that you're dumbed down and don't have money to be politically active and support your own causes. There is no special interest for liberty. You have to do it. Going back to GERALD CELENTE. GERALD, I'm just going to give you the floor right now because I want you to get into what you were talking about, how this symbolically happened on Patriots Day. Well, they staged it all, I believe, as their symbolic reconquering Boston. This is a globalist op. But what you see happening there, and then what this is also distracting from, as you've sent out in one of your tweets, what else you are looking at with your piercing gravitas. Go ahead.
Well, again, the significance to, as people are going more toward your sites and mine and others like us, is that they're fed up with the prostitute news and they know they're being lied to, conned to, and they're disgusted with losing their rights. The American Revolution, only 25% of the population really fought in it. They had about another 20% that were on the side, but the rest were loyalists or doing nothing. So we're in the same situation now, and it's building, I believe, and I've been writing about it, toward the Second American Revolution. But as we can see by the violence committed by the police and the stormtroopers, the emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual violence that they committed by calling martial law a state of siege in this episode in Boston, that you cannot fight this war, and I should not fight it, I believe, with weapons or violence. It must be fought with the spirit, with the mind and the heart. An intellectual and spiritual revolution. These people are so fraudulent. They're so transparent. They can be so easily defeated with the truth and morality that I believe we are now on the beginning, and your swelling viewership and listening audience, as well as ours, is proof of that. On the other issue, oh, by the way, I misstated. I said 2001. I meant 2011 when I was referring to the Trends Journal. That the reason what's going on here and what the distraction is, the world economy is under collapse. You go, and I'm not saying this only, you go back and you just read the last couple of days in the Financial Times and the Better Business News outlets, and there's gloom and doom throughout the world. They all know that this is not working. The new news, by the way, coming out of Europe today is that they're going to be lowering again interest rates, the European Central Bank, so they could try to juice the economy again. Oh, as we speak, by the way, Alex, what is gold up today? Almost $30? Again, I don't give financial advice, but to me, I don't know how any thinking person could believe in fiat currencies that they're devaluing in front of our eyes. And I totally believe, and we have a long story in the Trends Journal by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts about the systematic destruction of gold by the money junkies, by the central bankers, by the Goldman Sachs gang, the Merrill Lynch mob, the Deutsche Bank bandits, and the rest of the criminal operations. There are two mafias that are now taking over the world. One is the money changer mafia, and the other is the military-industrial complex. Is this hyperbole? Is it conspiracy theory? No. The first one, the money changer, again, that wonderful Trends Journal that we had of Jesus Christ chasing the money changers out of the temple. Go to the Trends Journal, the current edition. We have the quote from James Madison, the fourth president of the United States, using the precise term money changers, how they will use anything to destroy the people, to do anything to gain their means, to gain control over the banking systems and the printing of money. Madison, from Jesus Christ to James Madison. So the money changer is not a conspiracy theory. It's in front of our eyes. On the military-industrial complex, who could have said it more eloquently? Who could have said it with more credence and credibility than Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces during World War II, 2-term President of the United States, warning the American people that the military-industrial complex is robbing the genius of its scientists, the sweat of its laborers, and the future of its children by turning this nation into a militarized society. And when you talk about the drones, when you talk about all the weaponry, all the battleships, all of these stealth fighters, could you imagine if the genius of the scientists and sweat of the laborers had gone in to building a higher civilization rather than one that is mimicked, mouthpieced, and talked about by has to be one of the slimiest little characters that has ever hit the earth, Lindsey Graham. Here's his quote in today's Financial Times. Quote, "We are fighting an adversary that is transforming itself all over the globe. We need to broaden our ability to go after the enemy," Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, said on Tuesday. Quote, "The one mistake I will not tolerate is the mistake of believing that we are not at war." One mistake that I will not tolerate? Who the hell are you? I will not tolerate. You little weenie, you couldn't fight your way out of a paper bag. Who is this guy to tell us that we're at war? What business do we have in Iraq? What business? Oh, Obama's with Bush today, celebrating the Bush Library that we, the taxpayers, and all his cronies have to pony up to put up. And Bush saying the history will decide whether or not his policies were correct. What history will decide? The facts are in front of us now. By the time history looks at it, it will be whitewashed. Why are we in Libya? Why are we going into Syria? Why do we have 35 bases throughout Africa in AFRICOM? Why do we have hundreds of bases throughout the world? What's happened to this country? And now, oh, I love it. There are floods in the Midwest. People in displays in outside of Chicago crying. Yeah, because the infrastructure stinks. We have no money. Look at Detroit. Look at the people out on the streets. Look at the jobs that we have. And you got a clown like little Lindsey boy? Boy, I'd like to see this guy after dark. I wonder what kind of chains, garters, and black boots he's wearing in the other life of Lindsey to make a statement like this.
I am speechless. You are absolutely on target. And when you read the technocratic writings of all these eugenicist globalists from the 20s on up to now, Ray Kurzweil, all of them, they say they're using us kind of like their minions. They use more technical terms, kind of their clone programmed human resource biological androids. This is how they see it on their power trip. They take our tax money. They take it into the national security reservations that are really a breakaway civilization with more advanced stuff. Under national security, they bring in the drugs. They run all the crime. And they now are breaking away from society and saying, we're going to shut off your power plants. We're going to shut down stuff and move it to China where we own the plants. I mean, it's just total mafia rule. And now they know they may go to jail over the insider trading, over all the crimes, over the too big to fail derivative scams. So instead, they're just training us that we're all prisoners and we're on lockdown like we're in a supermax prison. And it's just totally illegal and totally criminal, and they don't care. They've taught the cops we're terrorists if we talk like this. The veterans are terrorists. I mean, it's like a science fiction movie, Gerald. So how do we turn this around? Because I agree, the awakening's happening, and they want a war with us, and I don't want to. I mean, they will lose this. 5% started the war. You say 25%, that was by the end. Yeah, but 3 to 5% started and really won most of the stuff. I mean, we will crush them. But the globalists will sit offshore and said that it may take a 10-year civil war. They'll just buy everything up for pennies on the dollar afterwards. So how do we arrest all them? How do we break free the police that are basically brainwashed androids on average? I mean, how do you get to somebody who doesn't know they're working for a technocracy? Eisenhower's full speech, as you know, doesn't just beware of the military-industrial complex. He says there is a technocratic elite in control and dominating 90% of the scientific development towards a military-industrial complex scientific dictatorship. That's because he was brought into this and said, no, I'm not going to be part of this. So people need to see the full speech.
Yes, and how's it going to change? Nothing changes until morality changes. It's the golden rule. I mean, why shouldn't America be a target? Listen, Alex, quick story. You go to our website, trendsjournal.com, go to the forecast page, look up terror. You'll see a front page story from USA Today, December 14th, 2000. The headline read, 2001 won't be our year, Trendseer says. I warned that a wave of anti-Americanism was sweeping the globe, and Americans wouldn't be safe at home or abroad. Again, this is before 9/11. Whether or not it was an inside job or whatever, the hatred is building around the world. Now, I get called up by everybody. I used to be on Oprah, the Today Show, CNN maybe 4 times a month. I was on the Today Show and Good Morning America. They used to fight between themselves to get me on for the top trends of the coming year. They're all calling me up. Everybody's in panic, 9/11. What happened? I said, listen, it's American foreign policy. You can't go into all these countries and not expect them to retaliate. It's revenge. No, it's not. They hate our freedom and liberty. Oh, grow up, I said. Then I started getting less calls. The Afghan war breaks out. They call me up. What's going to happen? I said, why ask me? Why don't you ask Alexander the Great? Ask the British, ask the Russians. It's going to be a money pit for the military-industrial complex. We'll kill more people. Our soldiers will get killed, and hatred would build. Then I got less calls after that. Then the Iraq War happens. You could look it up, Gannett newspapers. I was still very popular in a lot of the segments of the mainstream media at the time. They asked me to do an editorial on the outcome of the Iraq War. It's there in black and white. I said it'll be a swift battlefield victory. Saddam Hussein will be overthrown considering the size of America's military might. And it will devolve into a civil war. And Americans will leave after too many of the soldiers have been killed, too much money has been spent, or they've lost their will to continue.
Which is just common historical sense, and the military-industrial complex knew that. They love, it came out, they would have kept Vietnam going for another 15 years because they were making so much money.
Exactly.
Oh, man, and then these defense contractors call us traitors. You know, I hope all you guys that call yourselves conservatives that love all this tyranny, they're going to take everything you got too, bozos. I mean, this is, and the so-called liberals are a bunch of drooling authoritarian scum who want to conquer Christians and families. First-time callers, a chance to talk to Gerald Celente, ask him a question. Please direct your questions at Gerald Celente, 800-259-9231. By the way, Monday, I'm not going to be here. I'll be calling in with some reports, but I will be here tomorrow, and I will be here Sunday with the Sunday show 4 to 6. But Gerald's going to be guest hosting for an hour, the third hour or longer if he wants, on Monday. And it'll be Jakari Jackson and David Knight for the first 2 hours, and then they'll be there as backup because he's coming to us from Kingston, New York, but not co-hosting. They'll be waiting in the wings if he has any problems or any news updates if he wants them. Gerald Celente will be with us next week for an hour on Monday, third hour, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, 800-259-9231. You know, I see these emails stuff from cops going, hey, Alex, you know, I like your show, but the terrorists could have been in any house. Any of those people could have been their accomplices, like black women and blondes and 10-year-old kids. I mean, it's just you're all suspects, and we're going to drive by your house and point guns at you. And then cops just like walking around, stomping around. What do you call that? How do you get people to behave like this and dress up in stupid Darth Vader outfits over one 19-year-old kid? And then, of course, I heard the police scanners. They shot his boat up, the boat up full of bullets. He never shot at them. That's now come out. And then when he still got up and wasn't dead because the media got shots of it, and the cops on the scanners were like, oh, no, the media. We got it taped back there. We were capturing it. The media's got a shot. Oh, what are we going to do? Because they were going to make sure he was dead. He stands up. He's not bleeding out of the neck. They get him, and minutes later, he's near death. I think they chopped his vocal cords out so he could then confess. What about them now saying he's confessed from his bed? You don't do that before a, quote, trial. I mean, they could go kill you or me and say we confessed to, you know, stealing the Mona Lisa. They could say we confessed to crucifying Christ. Gerald Celente, we only got 2 minutes to break, but what's your comment on that?
Well, you're right. I mean, there's a couple of things. Number one, think about this. We lost our rights, our gun rights we're losing, and now our civil rights, because let's just say that these two kids did it. We had Adam Lanza, the other lunatic, and let's just say, for argument's sake, that these two guys pull this off. What, do we have to lose all our rights because of two kids? You know, what's going on here? Look what happened in Ireland during the times of the IRA. Bombs are going off all over the place in the 70s. You think they closed down Great Britain and Ireland? No, they didn't. And the other thing, you know, the other thing you mentioned about the Obama apologists. This is from Jeremy Scahill, who has a book out and a film called Dirty Wars. He said, quote, unfortunately, a lot of liberals have checked in their consciences at the door. That is not very healthy for our democratic process.
Tell you what, stay there. Back in 60 seconds. Third hour coming up. You know, America is #1 in obesity, #1 in drug use, #1 in cancer, #1 in autism, #1 in just everything bad now. And the over-the-top police state of all of America being locked down more and more anytime they want. I mean, that's what this is. This is criminals saying, hey, get up against the wall when we say papers, please. Now, Gerald, you were trying to get into that article, a new book out for Gerald Celente joining us. Recap, finish the quote, and then finish your point. I'm sorry about the break.
Yeah, no, that was the quote. He said that, unfortunately, a lot of liberals have checked in their consciences at the door. You know, in other words, they complain about Bush, but it's not very healthy for our democratic process. Not very healthy. You know, it's killing us. Here, this is from my book, Trends 2000. I wrote back in, you know, the mid-90s. I wrote about what happened with the Oklahoma terrorism, so the Oklahoma bombing. And then right after that, here's an article from USA Today. Terrorism bill hurts rights. The bill expands executive powers at the expense of both citizens and aliens. The president alone could designate groups, quote, detrimental to the interests of the United States. And it goes on. Not surprisingly, the bill's godfather, the FBI, would also re-app new power. That means your phone could be tapped if the FBI thought any suspect might use it. So much for Fourth Amendment protection. That's from USA Today, 1995. That's how things have changed. Here they were coming out against it. Now you pick up the pages, the editorial from the New York Times, the toilet paper of record, and they are so championing our loss of liberties and what's happened in Boston. And Alex, I urge everyone listening to please consider going to my YouTube channels, either the Gerald Celente or the Trends Journal YouTube channel, and see our piece on a state of siege, and also the one on rebuilding America, because that's what I'm promoting. I've had enough of their losing ways that are destroying this country. They are only destroying us day by day. We have sociopaths and psychopaths. Here, a definition of a sociopath. Read George Bush's comments from that prostitute CNN interview yesterday. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Sociopaths never do. So if the people don't rise up to a higher moral level, then our society degrades to a Nazi Germany level. Oh, and by the way, you asked, why is this happening? It's what I said years ago. 4 words have killed capitalism. Too big to fail.
Crony capitalism.
Fascism. The merger of state and corporate powers. It's a takeover.
You're absolutely right, Gerald. And people say, oh, come on, it's for your own good. The government's good. Every time you get rid of checks and balances, not part of the time, not 90% of the time, every time you get rid of checks and balances, the bad guys take over. That's what's like a dam holding them back. And we're like, hey, let's lower our shields. It's like, hey, let's get rid of our atmosphere and then see if we suffocate. Well, how do you know we need an atmosphere and air to breathe? You conspiracy theorists. They're just getting rid of our protections and wondering where the prosperity went. It went out the window. Going back to Gerald Celente, I want to go to some phone calls now. And Gerald obviously is just as concerned as I am about the open conditioning for martial law. I just wanted to briefly ask you, are they accelerating their program of acclimating us to troops on the streets and now openly announcing it because they're worried about the financial collapse?
I believe so. I truly believe it. That again, look what's going on in Spain. Look what's going on in Italy. Look what's going on in Greece. Look what's going on in Portugal. Look what's going on in Ireland. Oh, yesterday they announced, oh, over there in the UK, that third recession. No one calls it a depression. You have 30% plus unemployment in Greece, in Spain. Throughout the area, you have over 50% unemployment in many of these countries, youth unemployment. The entire systems are breaking down. Cyprus is out of the news. People forgot about it. Holiday, remember that one, the bank holiday? It's collapsing. There is absolutely no way that they can continue to print money to prop up the economy. They've dumped in tens of trillions of dollars. It has not worked. And as societies break down, you know my saying, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And people are losing it. They're losing it in Bulgaria and Romania. They're losing it throughout the world, and they're going to be losing it here.
Well, it just came out this week, the statistics of suicide, murder, death, breakups, depression. It's just exploding everywhere. And I was reading today where people are starving to death in Greece, and that will happen here just like Argentina. Argentina was first world. The globalists love this. This is what they do with their mismanagement.
You know, I was thinking about what's holding back the American spirit. There are a lot of great people out there, and I do see a change coming. And, you know, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm buying historic buildings in colonial Kingston. You know, the roots of the American Revolution are right here. The Senate House is over here. They burnt down this city in 1774, the British. You know, so, I mean, you know, I believe in it. But what's holding it back? And I started to think, if I had a job at Walmart, if I worked at Target, I worked at Costco. I used to have a hardware store, and now I have to work for Home Depot. I used to own a stationery store, and now I work for Staples or Office Depot. I used to own a mom and pop shop where we had clothing or a haberdasher. You don't even hear that word anymore. And now, I work for Macy's. So the people, their spirit is being rotted out of them.
That's the television. The television, I call it television sickness. They're just spectator zombies. They've got to awaken. They're still human. Let's take calls. Eric in Tennessee, you're on the air with Gerald Celente. Go ahead, Eric. You're on the air from Tennessee. I'm fine. Go ahead.
How's it going, Alex? How's it going, Gerald?
Good.
Good.
Excellent, guys. Great to listen to you guys. A lot of information, a lot of really good stuff. My question, basically, if you think back, the French Revolution, when it started, the people were so poor, they were so sick, they were just dying in the streets, basically. Do you think it'll get to that point in America before we decide to fight back, or do you think that the American spirit, like you were talking about, will actually come back and we'll be able to do something effective before it gets that bad?
I believe it could be done long before that. You listen to the people that advertise the products. You listen to Alex talk about the advertisers on his show. Organic, clean food, clean environment. You think about the aspects of integrity and courage and self-respect. Those are the things that change it. I get letters all the time. We have a piece at the end of this last Trends Journal from a young fellow, 27 years old, Dan Powell. And I call it the Powell Prescription for Progress. And he wrote about how he's changed his life. He eats organic. He grows his own food. He gets dressed every day. He dresses up, tries to feel better, exercises, lost weight. And he said, this is what will really excite you. Everybody around him is changing. His girlfriend is changing. His friends are changing. His parents are changing. When the people rise to the highest level within themselves, everything changes. Don't believe me? Read Jung. Read the great philosophers. Read all of them. The world changes when the consciousness changes. And to me, we have everything in place.
Absolutely. We are the revolution for liberty. They are the revolution for tyranny. There are different forces in this world. Stop being a spectator. Eric, anything else?
Well, basically, I was reading the Trends Journal, and it's got the obituary for democracy at the beginning of it. I really recommend that read to anybody. You can download that in a PDF file.
Sure, and people get in an argument about democracy, republic. I mean, a republic is the will of the people, but protected in the Bill of Rights Constitution. So it's really the same thing. When Obama says democracy, he means a pure one. But then Gerald's point is this isn't even that. It's a manufactured consent. The 74% of the Americans in a Gallup poll hate the government. So why is the government getting bigger? Because we don't have a republic. We don't have a democracy. What we've got is a manufactured kleptocracy. Thank you, Eric.
Yes.
Jason?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'd just like to comment on what Eric said. Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that story in the Trends Journal about obituary for democracy. I quoted from the toilet paper of record. Actually, I believe it was April 15th or around that time, because the Trends Journal just came out. And they talked about Christine Lagarde, the grande dame of the IMF. You know what IMF stands for, the International Mafia Federation. And how they're saying this, the toilet paper, and they're not even conscious of their words. They say that she has become, and the IMF, a quasi-government, and that they have more power than countries in Europe, and how they put leaders in charge.
And she's exempt from taxes, but thinks you should work 6-7 days a week to pay her more money.
But again, and the point beyond that is that they're saying that the money junkies are in control.
Yes.
They're saying it in the New York Times. Not my language, their language.
And then if you read it, the ADL or Southern Poverty Law Center calls you a conspiracy theorist. Jason in Alabama, you're on the air. What's your question for Gerald?
Alex.
Hey, bro.
Hey, Gerald and Alex, good to talk to you guys. Hey, love the show. I'll get my sarcasm out of the way and say that you're doing a really good job of pissing the globalists off.
Well, we're trying.
I know. Hey, I wanted to talk to you guys about the police state. I had a situation that happened to me and my wife just the other night, and I think, you know, I mean, I've been listening to you for about 4 years. We've never really seen this before, but this happened to us, and so we're having to deal with it. I'm not crying about it, but we're going to deal with it. But we were at a club. I'm a songwriter and an engineer and an anthropologist and all kinds of things. But we were at a club, and we left. She said to me, she said, I think we've had too much to drink tonight. Let me go get my purse and my phone. And we were parked directly behind the club. She went to go to get her purse. There were 2 police officers that were standing behind the club, and they approached her, and they said, "Who are you? Where are you coming from? Where are you going?" And she said, "Look, I don't have to answer these questions. I'm just a person. I'm trying to get my purse out of the car." They literally beat her and arrested her and took her to jail. She was by herself.
Yeah, they've converted police over now to, they want to get notches on their belts. We are the enemy. They're trying to convert them to where the more they attack us, the more tough they are. And they've been told, drive these people into submission. Gerald, what do you want to say to what this fellow just talked about?
Well, it's, you know, all this has really started to happen. Again, every time that there's an incident, they take more and more of our rights away. And then you look at a lot of who these people are becoming that are police. They're coming back from Iraq. They're coming back from Afghanistan. I mean, you know, this whole thing is totally out of control. And then you have a clown senator like Lindsey Graham saying this nation is a battlefield and we're at war, and these people believe it who have become cops. But I have to tell you this, on the cop scene, the cops in Kingston have to be among the coolest. There's bad sections around here. They see people out in the street having a drink at an outside thing. They don't bother anybody. They know what bad is. And that's what these cops have to understand. Leave the people alone. You want to enforce the law? Start at the top. Go after the war criminals. Go after Rumsfeld. Go after that little weasel Wolfowitz. You want to enforce the law? Leave us alone. And go after Corzine. Go after the Goldman Sachs gang. Leave us alone.
Absolutely. So how did it end, caller? I'm going to twist your arm one more segment, Gerald. 10 more minutes, take a few more calls. But how did it end, caller?
She was asking the police, she said, instead of you, like, antagonizing me, aren't you supposed to be protecting me? She was like, I am alone. There's my car. I'm trying to call a cab. And they had nothing to do with that. They just wanted to violate her and arrest her, and she went to jail, and now we have to deal with the whole thing.
Sue them. Go after them all. This is happening everywhere, though. They want to break our will. Final segment with Gerald Celente. I will continue with your phone calls after this at 800-259-9231. All over the country now, I see the footage every day. Cops will pull somebody over, and they'll film them, and the cop will beat them, take them to jail, and charge them with resisting arrest and wiretapping when that's not what the law says. Or somebody will be filming outside, and a cop will just walk by. I've seen people, like, walking down a city street, and 2 cops will walk over where they're at and then just shove them up against a wall. And, man, I've been to third world countries. It's not even that bad. And it's the government's above the law. I mean, it's all over, folks. They're going to take our bank accounts, everything. It's all being announced. America's going under judgment. And it's going to be forced abortions and forced inoculations next. That's already beginning. And I hope everybody enjoys it because, you know, if it hadn't come to your area yet, it will. Because, you know, it's a rite of passage now. Like you get a buck and, you know, skin it and then have the head taxidermied. It's a rite of passage to do a proctology exam on your wife in front of you on the side of the highway. It's a rite of passage to almost beat your 12-year-old to death. It's a rite of passage for the IRS to take your bank accounts with no judge or jury. Sorry, I mean, I guess it is a rite of passage now, isn't it, Gerald?
Isn't that fellow that called up before, you know, with the woman getting arrested? Now, when you get arrested, thanks to the Supreme Court, okay, take off your clothes. We go to jail. Once you're in jail, they could strip search you.
Oh, yeah, it's all part of the violation. Oh, yeah. Well, that's why they get into this. It's all part of the...
I was at a party when this was happening, and I said, you know, the Obama administration supported this. And it went, no, he didn't. I said, yes, he did. I said, the Solicitor General, Verrilli, argued for the strip search. This woman got so unhinged, called me a liar. I didn't know what I was talking about. I said, look up the facts. The Obama apologists don't want to admit that their guy is as bad and worse than all of the rest of them. It's just a continuation of our loss of rights that Bush started really taking, Clinton actually.
Yeah. Tyranny is a bunch of kleptocrats who get above the law and then have a big party with us. Let's talk to Dan in Indiana. You're on the air, Dan.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call, and I want to tell you that everybody really around here appreciates the information you guys are sharing and seeking the truth out. And one thing I want to comment on, about 2 years ago, the federal government put a building up here in this little town of 3,000 people that I'm from. As they were putting the building up, nobody knew what the building was, and then it was an FBI building, supposedly to monitor the power grid. Yeah, it was to monitor the power grid, all right, not the electric power. But while they were doing that, somebody hit a fiber optic line. Every cell phone and every landline went down. They are monitoring people through these fiber optic lines. When they completed that building, they run fiber optic lines, hell, high water, through the dead of winter, all over this country out here. And as far as monitoring and information, if people really want to know the technology that they have, you can go to Google Maps. You can go to Street View and walk the little guy down the street, see who's in what car and everything.
Oh, it's worse than that. They're coming out with Google Fiber 100 times faster. They're putting it in Austin. And exactly, it came out in '96. But they have whole rooms or sometimes floors at all telecommunications. And now under cybersecurity, your company, just like, I didn't even get to this today. I'm going to cover it when we come back after Gerald leaves us. I got the business census. They say they're going to basically throw me in jail. I've got to answer all these questions, violate the Fifth Amendment. And if any of it's wrong, I go to jail. There's no law behind this. They lie. I went and checked it, already knew that. But this is the new thing. That the bosses have to spy on their employees under cybersecurity. This is the total end, folks. This is a criminal takeover. GERALD CELENTE.
It is. And again, it's all before us. And then again, it all ties in. As the economy gets worse, as people become more desperate, as society breaks down, they will use any excuse to enslave and empower us.
And their argument is, when I was talking about the police state with the Austin police chief, he goes, you have nothing to hide, do you? I was like, come on, you know they're spying on everything. He goes, what, do you have something to hide? No, you got something to hide, government. Go ahead, Gerald.
And again, who are these people to watch us? You know, what moral ground do they stand on that they're looking to see if we're behaving properly? This is, again, just keep going back to the founding fathers. That's all we have to do, whether it's in foreign affairs and not getting involved in foreign entanglements, or all of the Bill of Rights that have been put into place to protect us. All we have to do in this country to move forward is to have a renaissance in what the Revolutionary War was about, put it back into place, and push.
Absolutely. We just have to go back to freedom and all this ends. But we don't want to, because we chant USA, USA, to having our daughters given a proctology exam by men in black uniforms. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.